Cool. Welcome everyone to the Behind the ERG podcast. My name is Edward Odifin and I'll be your host for today. So who am I? I run a community called Emerge, which is a community and a gathering of people within organizations who advocate for Black professionals and also drive inclusivity across their workplaces and beyond. This podcast will be looking at unpacking the purpose, power, and stories behind the people in these roles. Now, with all the formalities done, I'd like to introduce our first guest, who is someone that's redefining what it means to lead with purpose, power, and intent. Someone who's also BBC 1Xtra featured. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Nadine Haughton.
Thanks, Ed, and hi, everyone.
So, firstly and foremost, mental health is really important these days. So, Nadine, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very overwhelmed. It is the busiest period of the year for my clients and Google, so we're very busy. It's back to back, but we're not bored. So that's one thing.
Can't imagine. And when people think of Nadine, what do you want people to think of? Like, how do you want to be perceived when people think of you as a person?
I feel like I want to be perceived as the go-getter, so the person that just gets things done. I feel like in both my professional and personal life, everyone does see me as the agony aunt or someone that can just resolve issues. So I do kind of like that branding, and I do think it's something that's important. And it's definitely helped me to develop various different skills like resilience, determination, and just being hardworking and always looking to strive for more.
And before we get into the dells of Nadine as a person, just a very like icebreaker. What's one thing that's brought you joy this week? Even though it's literally a Tuesday, but what's one thing that's brought you joy?
Oh my gosh, you know what? It's so random. I now try and commit to 30-minute walks on a daily basis because I'm trying to lose weight. But I started off at a corner shop. This is so random. And for the first time I thought, oh, let me treat myself to a snack. It's been a good exercise. And I've treated myself to a packet of those white chocolate Maltesers. I don't know if anyone's seen them, but they've just been released. And it's a game changer. And now I keep going to the back to the corner shop and getting myself a little bag. And it's giving me joy. I'm not going to lie. It's the small things, but I need that for my sweet tooth. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'll definitely be avoiding them white Maltesers 'cause I'm trying to lose weight as well. 30 December's coming, so I'm trying to be outside. But let's delve into a bit more about you. So we mentioned it in your intro, BBC 1Xtra featured. Tell us more about that experience.
You know what? It was an amazing experience. And firstly, thank you, Ed, for helping me to actually have that opportunity for your connections. I feel like the experience definitely helped in terms of raising awareness for sickle cell, which is obviously the most important factor. But it also gave me the opportunity to be able to speak to some of the things that we've been doing from an ERG and from a Google perspective to raise awareness on such an important topic as well. So for me, it was very much a great way to build my network, to grow my confidence, but most importantly, help to elevate the platform when it comes to sickle cell.
And why is sickle cell in particular important to you?
Sickle cell, oh gosh, it's for a variety of different reasons, Ed. From a personal level, I am a sickle cell carrier, and I only found out that I was a carrier at the age of 30. Shocking, I know. But it then prompted me to really understand why, and then also speak about it to a lot of my other friends and family members. And then that then led to certain individuals also finding out that they are carriers. And for me, it just showcased an issue that as Black people, for some reason, we're not really as knowledgeable when it comes to the disease, especially because it impacts us the most. And a lot of people potentially may have it and not even realize up until the age of adulthood. And I do think it's important to be aware so that you can adapt accordingly. So that's what steered my passion towards it. And then finding out more about the condition, hearing all the trauma and pain that some people go through when faced with this diagnosis has made me even more empathetic to their situation and really want to raise awareness so that we can plug in more resource and funding to help the cause.
Yeah, and I know you're heavily involved in ERGs in terms of raising awareness around sickle cell and many other things that are prevalent, particularly in the Black community. I'm going to channel my inner Richie Brave now. I'm going to ask you, what is an ERG for people that are listening that have no idea what that acronym means?
I thought you were going to ask me that. So an ERG is an employee resource group. In terms of what that means, so they tend to be found within corporations or large work organizations. And it's very much focused on a subset of individuals who identify based on a variety of different characteristics, religious or ethnic backgrounds. So my ERG at Google is called the Black Google Network, but there are a range of different ERGs, including the Asian Google Network, for instance, and Latin Google Network, as well as various other like subsets and characteristics like Pride at Google. So it's just a way for people who identify as a certain category to connect, to build community, and to learn from each other.
And then focusing more on your motivations in terms of your involvement. What's inspired you to get involved? Why is it something that's personally passionate for you to do?
You know what? I've always been involved, not even just at Google, but even at my previous companies. I was steerco at Oracle, steerco at Adobe. And what initially encouraged me to get involved was the fact that there was not that many people that looked like me in tech. Don't get me wrong, it's evolving to a certain extent. There are more people that look like us. But when I initially started, I suffered severely from imposter syndrome. And I constantly felt like I was being left out. And it was very much down to how I looked. So I was craving a community for looking for others that kind of shared the same experiences as me so that I could have that support. And that's what initially encouraged me to be part of an employee resource group. And then in terms of why I then pivoted towards Steerco, I do feel like Steerco is where you can promote change and where you can feed into events and educational like initiatives so that you can educate your allies and colleagues and make them aware of some of the things that we face and how they can then tackle it head on as well.
So based on your experience and being involved in these ERGs, which is going to be the new buzzword for this podcast, but what would you say was the particularly like defining moment in terms of your involvement? Like, what standout moment do you look back and say, I'm particularly proud of being able to deliver this or being involved in that initiative or event or activity?
I guess like one of the most profound moments for me at Google anyway, and I feel like we might be touching on to this shortly, so I want to give it its platform, but it was being able to sponsor Notting Hill Carnival for the first time. And the reason why that was really important for me is because I come from a Caribbean heritage. Every single year from when I was a child, I'm at Carnival. It's something that's just been ingrained in my family. So going there, seeing all these companies all of a sudden advertising, and then not seeing Google, a company that I worked at, being part of that, it shocked me, especially given the fact that YouTube have a massive music platform. And to be honest, it makes sense out of the majority of those companies for YouTube to be there. So that then prompted me to kick off internal conversations. I was faced with numerous blocks. It was not easy to get YouTube there. But being able to turn a dream into a reality was definitely an amazing thing for me to see and to do and to achieve. And the fact that it's now going to be an annual thing, that's what's making it historic. And I feel like being part of that journey has definitely been instrumental to me.
And the carnival as a whole this year faced a lot of challenges in even going ahead. So having these large organisations support them is important. I want to touch more about carnival, and I know you said, for example, it's something that you've been involved with for a long time, and from a personal perspective. What does carnival mean to you, and what's like your earliest carnival memory?
Yeah, sure. So, Carnival actually symbolizes like freedom and different Caribbean communities coming together to celebrate their various different identities and cultural backgrounds. And the reason why it was specifically headlined in Notting Hill is basically to fight against resistance. So there was a movement during the Windrush era. There was a lot of Caribbeans that settled throughout the whole of UK, London being a prominent spot. And it was a way for them to rejoice in the fact that we are free, we are here, and we are going to celebrate our Caribbean identity that was somewhat stripped to us. So there's obviously very much a link back to slavery. We're not going to get too deep here, but it's very much just focused on freedom and embracing oneself. So that's very much something that I resonate with. It's something that is very much in my like blueprint and why I'm part of all of these different initiatives and ERGs, because I do think it's important to be authentic and embrace your identity regardless of the situation that you're in, especially in a world that very much suppresses us.
Yeah, and I'll expand on the importance of that for me. So I've never been carnival in over 20 years. So I don't even remember the last time I went carnival. And I went for the first time this year as a result of the YouTube Creator Collective Carnival After Party, which shows the impact of bringing people who may not traditionally go to the space to carnival as a result of the work that yourselves and others are doing and bringing these large corporations there. I want to ask, what do you see the future of carnival from, I guess, how it can evolve, and I guess what can, without specifically naming any large corporations, do to support that evolution?
Part of me doesn't actually wish it does evolve, because the way that I see things evolving is commercialized. And I like the freeness of carnival. And I feel like if more companies get involved, it could be more regimented, if that makes sense, and restricted and loads of different controls. And it goes against what carnival is meant to celebrate. So I'm in two minds with that one. I do think it's important for companies to be present there, to sponsor key moments, to invest in their employees, enable them to be there as well. But at the same time, I do feel like Notting Hill Carnival should be managed by Notting Hill Carnival team, which is obviously a team of Caribbeans who understand the importance of why Carnival is there. And I would hate to take control away from that, if that makes sense.
Understood. And one of the things you mentioned in that is about the importance of kind of maintaining the cultural relevance of carnival
Yeah.
as it grows, and ensuring that if it's commercialized on a larger scale, that's not lost. And I want to segue and ask you, um, you're a proud Caribbean woman. How do you maintain your cultural identity in a corporate environment? How do you make sure you're proud and Caribbean wherever the working environment may be or the corporate space you are in?
Well, another thing that I have identified navigating through this tech space is that a lot of Black people that work in tech aren't actually Caribbean. The majority are African. We are all from Africa, so I'm not trying to like do this Caribbean Africa divide here. But one thing I have found, even at Google, is when when I initially started at Google, we only really celebrated African-based initiatives. So, for instance, we had Africa Day. We didn't really do anything focused on Caribbean, which is why I was part of the planning to promote Windrush. And now every year we do celebrate Windrush. But obviously, Windrush is only something that a few people in the company would be able to resonate with. So that's why there wasn't really a focus. And even when it came to Carnival, there was a bit of resistance from the wider Black Google network because a lot of them aren't Caribbean. So I wasn't really getting help from people that looked like me either. So I always try and make sure that Caribbeans have a seat at the table whenever an event is planned. Now, I do feel like everyone should have their voice, everyone should have their platform. So I'm not trying to like make everything Jamaican focused. But given the fact that we are a minority, I just make sure that we're included on the plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I'm very much a Niger boy, even though people think I'm Ghanaian. And I'm not going to get into the plantain planting debate. But one thing I will say is, what would you give as advice for someone who's new to the corporate space and is proud in their roots, whether that be Caribbean or African? And how can they ensure as they start their kind of corporate journey, they're able to maintain their heritage and be proud in what they do in spaces where there potentially may be a minority or there may not be many of them from their background or heritage?
I think the first thing they need to do is sign up to an ERG. That's definitely something that I would recommend. The second thing that I think they should do is try and not conform. Try and not conform to the norm because you feel like that's going to make you fit in. Make sure you show up with your authentic style, your authentic self, your different hairstyles. That is fine. And if someone comments or makes you feel uncomfortable, speak up. I feel like for a long time, I was silent, and a lot of other people who are new in their career are silent too. And silence doesn't get you anywhere. I feel like if someone needs to be called out for microaggressions, call them out. And if you don't feel comfortable doing so, speak to HR, speak to your manager. There are other people in that organization who are allies that would be able to help you. And then from an educational piece, I understand that DEI has definitely taken a turn in a different direction this year. but I do think people are still very interested in understanding people's backgrounds. So even in like team socials or any sort of like activity-based scenario, why don't you speak to your manager or your colleagues about doing a spotlight on you? Like, this is me, this is my background, this is my family, this is how I operate, and so forth, so that they get to know a bit more about you. And it actually will help build rapport and a personal connection as well.
Yeah, agreed. And another thing I want to ask, expanding on this. So we've spoken about the stuff you've done in terms of carnival, your heritage in the workplace, etc. And it would be impossible for us to have this conversation without me mentioning Behind the Smile, Sickle Cell at Work. So tell us about that event. I know you spoke briefly about sickle cell and the advocacy you done about it earlier in this conversation, but tell us some more around about why that event was important for you, and what the, not necessarily consequences, but what the outcomes have been since that event has occurred in terms of the conversation around sickle cell in the workplace, and then things you've been involved in since then too as well.
Yeah, amazing question, Ed. And I guess firstly, I just want to start off by saying it wasn't just me. It was a tribe of people who were involved in making that event a success. So Google, or Black Google Network, collaborated with Emerge ERG community, which I'm sure people who are listening to the podcast are very familiar with. We also partnered with ACLT, African Leukemia Trust, African Caribbean Leukemia Trust. Sorry, see, look at me forgetting the Caribbean already. And then we partnered with the NHS Blood Transfusion Charity as well as a range of different corporations that, it's endless list. So we ain't got time, can't name them all. But they helped in terms of the fundraising element. In terms of the mission of the event, it was very much focused on bringing a range of different companies and charities together to build a platform to not only raise awareness about the topic, but also look for more people to donate blood and more people to fundraise for medical research. And I think it was amazing to see everyone come together for such an important cause. Not only did we have like medical professionals come in and talk about progressive treatments and different ways that sickle cell patients can manage their lifestyle with this condition, we also had a panel of individuals who suffered from sickle cell and shared their experiences in terms of navigating through different workspaces, how colleagues react to them, what they include in different discussions when it comes to the hiring process and so forth. And it was really informative to actually hear from people who are actually experiencing this, if that makes sense. And then what obviously brought me to tears at the end as well is just having ACLT and the NHS blood transfusion on the stage, where Beverly spoke about her journey creating the charity and the unfortunate loss of her son. For me, that definitely just shed a highlight on the fact that if people are not paying attention to this, if people are not putting in the right resource, then unfortunately it can lead to fatalities. And I just think it's such a crucial moment for us to really continue paying attention to, because now's the time where people are actually listening. So we should really continue this momentum and just try and get more people to raise awareness and add funds. And yeah, that's why I think it was a success. I think it was the tribe that brought us together, and the fact that so many people turned up and wanted to be part of the event. That's what, for me, was the most impactful.
Yeah. And I'm going to put this on the community rather than just organizations, because there's a lot of community leaders that attended that event as well. What do you think should be the main takeaway from those who attended or those who may have seen the video on YouTube? And as a community, what can we do to ensure that that's not a point in time moment and it's something that leads to a change that, for example, people can see in 10, I said 10 twice, so 10, 20, 50 years time when it comes to the workplace and the conversation around chronic conditions like sickle cell?
I think in terms of community leaders, it's continuing the conversation. And an example is the fact that there are companies now reaching out to you directly, Ed, wanting to collaborate and host events. And I think you've even got one this next month. So for me, that's a success in one aspect. I think the second is the fact that we have access to social media platforms. So let's use them. Not every day post bikini photos on the beach, yeah? Like, let's be posting important topics like sickle cell and trying to encourage people beyond just the professional setting, but even in our personal world, to try and invest more in the topic as well. And then I think the other thing is like an opportunity for more sponsoring and financial investment. I think one of the challenges that we had on the Google side, to be completely honest, is the fact that because of all of these different cuts with ERG budgets, we weren't able to put in as much money as potentially we could have historically to scale this event further. So maybe if more companies are hearing about this, they would put more money behind it, and then we can continue raising awareness.
Yeah. And that was behind the ERG podcast exclusive. So yeah, we're definitely working on stuff. So watch this place space in terms of what we're looking to do over October and November. We focus very much in terms of the things you've done in the workplace, but what I want to do now is focus on what you're doing outside the workplace. So tell us about Ensuno House, and if I pronounced that incorrectly, correct me. And what's motivated you to start that, and what does Ensuno House look to achieve?
Yeah. So Ensuno House, the reason why the company is called Ensuno House is because my grandmother was called Ensuno. So it's a legacy and a recognition for her. The company is very much focused on providing residential care in a mother and baby unit method for individuals who are potentially at risk of losing their child. And then, in terms of the reason why I decided to pursue this route, it's very much a passion project of mine. Just so everyone's aware, my mother is a social worker. She's been a social worker for the past 30 years. So we've always been raised with a mindset of helping others, specifically kids. And we've always been raised with various different kids from different backgrounds who need help. I even remember when I was young, my friends who came from troubled backgrounds, they would all come and stay with me. Like my mum is literally everyone's mum. So I know it was a passion for her to open up her own mother and baby unit, but due to finances and timeframes, she hasn't been able to do that. And it was a dream that she's always wanted, and it just hasn't been fulfilled. And one of the benefits, I guess, of me working in corporate, being able to elevate to more of a senior level, is the fact that I now have the financial resources to make her dream into a reality. So it's a collaboration with my mum and my sister Jemima, and we just want to not only make this into something that is actually impactful, but also do something that's aligned to our moral compass, if that makes sense. And I feel like everything that she wanted has very much been something that we've inherited. And we do have a passion for helping kids. I study psychology. I've worked with kids for years from a volunteer perspective. I would love to be able to give back in some way. So that's why Ensuno House was created. It was created for the purpose of helping mothers and young children navigate through life and just build meaningful relationships where they're not impacted by social services, and it's a healthy upbringing. But also it's a way for us to be able to work closely as a family and feed into our shared passion. And I just feel like this is a company that was made from love, and that's why I think it will thrive.
Yeah. So what's the goal for Ensuno House? Like, what does good look like in the next 5 years, and what do you need to achieve that?
Good question. So at the moment, we are going to start Ensuno House in a house that I actually own, so my first property.
I have to stop and congrats for that, because getting on the property market is not easy at the moment.
Mate,
So
I'm trying to get my second property.
and you even said
Really nice.
first, so the aspiration is to do more. So yeah,
Yeah.
big kudos on that. So apologies for
No worries, no worries. But the challenge that I have is that it's a 3-bed house and it's not scalable. So every business needs to be scalable. So for the first year and a half, we want to make sure that we have built the relevant relationships with the council so that they trust us and they test us, and we have a 24-hour operating system where we can build a business case for growth. And then the plan would be, as other businesses do within this space, to rent larger properties. So we then look for like a 5-bed house up to an 8-bed house and so forth. And the plan is to have multiple different houses by 5 years with various different mother and baby units set up and a trusted team of nurses who are able to align with our passion and fulfill these objectives. So it's to grow and scale, basically.
amazing. And if there's any people of influence from the council listening, please hit up Nadine. If we don't share at the end, we'll definitely share the details in the description in terms of how you can get in contact with Ensuno House and support their cause and mission. Great. Cool. We're gonna go into more of a bit of a light-hearted section of this podcast, and I'm gonna ask you a couple of things kind of like a quick fire round.
Oh gosh.
So one thing I want to say is what name one book you're currently reading at the moment, or podcast you're listening to, if you're more of a podcast person.
Of course, there's both. I don't know if I should say the podcast because it's controversial, so I'll say the book instead.
Okay.
It is Purpose Driven Life by Joyce Meyer. For those who don't know, it's Joyce Meyer is a Christian author who very much discusses in the book the ups and downs of navigating religion, especially when it comes to various different traumas and obstacles that are thrown your way. Um, I am expecting an extension to my family soon, and it's made me really want to be closer to God. I've always been involved in church, but after COVID, I did disconnect from the church slightly because, to be honest, I just didn't have the energy to go every Sunday. Whereas now I'm remaining committed, and I do feel like it's important, especially as I will be a mother soon, and I want to make sure that my child knows God too. So I've really been resonating with this book and her journey.
Amazing. And what give us an example of like one quote or like one mantra or one like motto you live by in terms of everything you do.
Onwards and upwards. Yeah, I know it's short and sweet. And it was something that my MD at my first company would always sign off on his email, Christian Peck. Yeah. And I've just, for some reason, like it's just been instilled in me for the rest of my career. And it was very much a sentiment towards what will be, basically. What's next? You've done this. Okay. How are we going to get to the next level? And it's something that I've always just kept in mind as I achieve various different milestones and I grow within my career. I'm always looking for that next opportunity.
And if you wasn't doing what you're doing now, what else would you do?
I would be a travel influencer, Ed, because as you know, I'm never in this country. I would be on TikTok living my best life, going into all these different hotels for free, trying all these different restaurants and having an amazing following. I just don't have the energy to post. These content creators, honestly, I rate you. I respect you for your time. It's just not me. But that's what I'd be doing if I was in a different world.
And looking back at a younger Nadine, what did you want to do when you was younger?
You know what? I actually wanted to be a forensic psychiatrist. Yeah, don't ask. I studied psychology. I actually even worked in the medium secure unit for a few years. But yeah, as much as a rewarding career, it's very challenging. I definitely rate anyone that works in that field, but it just wasn't for me.
Amazing. And for our next guest, we're going to do a type of pass the mic type challenge. So give us one challenge or question you'd like to ask our next guest so we can incorporate that within that session.
Ooh, let me have a little think. Okay. How do you feel, or what do you think about the concept of Black legacy? And how do you think we can approach building that legacy within the corporate space?
Okay. I need to remember this. I need to remember this question, but amazing question. And we'll definitely pass that on. I'll wrap up by saying thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you're doing in the community, internally and externally, and looking forward to hearing more about Ensuno House and anything else you have planned. And congratulations on your pregnancy.
Thank you.
Which I know you dropped the bomb on BBC 1Xtra. When
I mean, I'm showing now. Like, I can't,
you're
can't hide
showing
it.
as well. So thank you. Any final words you want to share with our audience?
Thank you, to be fair. Like, credit to you as well for allowing us to have this platform and this voice and bringing us all together. I think there's strength in numbers and you're definitely enabling that.
Cool. And if people want to follow the journey of Nadine Haughton, where can they go? Socials or Ensuno House, where can they go to get more information on that too as well?
Yep, sure. LinkedIn, Nadine Michelle Haughton. You can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is private, but I would allow you. It's fine. Don't worry, we're friends. At Nads_Rochelle. And then Ensuno House actually has an official website. So it's just www.ensunohouse.com. And then you'll be able to see all the details around the company, our services that we offer, and any other information that you think is relevant.
Amazing. And to wrap off and sign off, the Behind the Smile Sickle Cell Work event can be found on Google. just Google Behind the Smile Sickle Cell at Work. It will be on the In the Element YouTube channels. Shout out Lizzie. She's a smartphone filmmaker for making that. And please support the ongoing blood drive in terms of sickle cell awareness and other chronic conditions that require a large number of blood donors from the Black community to give blood to support people who are dealing with these chronic conditions. That's it from us at Behind the ERG podcast. Thank you, Nadine, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and stay tuned, stay blessed.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.